All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As you join us, welcome you to type into the comment field a hi, or maybe where you're joining us from. It's always great to see where this international glass community is tuning in from. And then as we get started, so thank you all for being here and welcome to the February 2021 Glass Reflections. We know that times continue to be challenging or stressful, and we hope that this program, this Glass Reflections conversations, are just one opportunity to exchange ideas and create resources and ultimately help build a resilient glass community. For those who are unaware, love that. Hi, my name is Jenna. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Operations and Programs Manager here at GAS. I'm coming to you live from my own apartment here in Seattle, Washington, and I truly enjoy hosting these conversations with such amazing artists and educators. And every first Thursday, I interview artists, businesses, and educators about how they explore glass. We are gas. Glass is the art. Explore glass as a vehicle for self-care, whether that's looking at glass art or creating glass art. And we hope that this will shed light on the true resiliency of glass artists. Today, we are joined by artist and instructor Lily Reeves. And Lily, give a little background for everyone joining, earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts from Alfred University and her Master's of Fine Arts from Arizona State University, where she graduated in 2018. Lily's public work is in the permanent collections of the University of Montevallo, Alfred University, and Salem Artworks, as well as private collections around the world. Lily has shown in a variety of group, two-person, and solo exhibitions, the most recent being the Outer Special exhibit at Urban Glass in New York. So welcome, Lily.
Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. Is there anything else you would like to add about your background or you as a person?
I'm a Libra.
Oh my gosh, me too.
No, yeah, I mean, I think you covered a lot of the bases. Right now I'm living and working in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have been running my own art and design firm now for 2.5 years, which is crazy to me, but been doing it. So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome.
In the Southwest.
Yeah, Valley of the Sun. I myself am from Phoenix, and just, the sunshine sounds so nice. It's very cloudy here in Seattle.
Yeah, it's nice in the winter. You get a lot of good weather, but summers you don't want to be here.
Oh my gosh, yes, I can recall. So I'd love to hear maybe a little bit more about this Outer Special exhibit that you recently were a part of.
Yeah, so Outer Special was a two-person exhibition it was very collaborative with me and a friend of mine, Lucia Rafael. And Lucia makes amazing video art, and we've always, we were always talking about collaborating, and finally we decided to go for it, and so we shot over a proposal to Urban Glass and they accepted it, and that whole exhibition was, it was actually really funny. Hey girl, I see you here. That whole exhibition was installed right before COVID hit, and so it was supposed to run for like 2.5 or 3 months, and then COVID hit, in February or March, around the time we were supposed to take it down, and so the whole context of the show just like totally changed, and it actually ended up staying up for a year, which was cool. So originally we had kind of talked about the show being like investigating alternate realities and exploring the digital and physical space, because I was doing these installations in the desert, and Lucia was making built environments on her computer. And so we wanted to combine those and create this kind of boundaryless space of physical and digital. And we did that by, filling the room with a lot of sculptural elements that were sort of pulled from our videos, her videos, sorry, and sort of exploring that field of like what is real and what is a projection. And so that's kind of where it started off. And then COVID hit, and it became this like weird time capsule for both of us. It was up for a year, and so by the end, we kind of realized that this was sort of like more, we felt that it was almost like an escapism show now. So we really pulled out this idea of these alternate realities and sort of creating things, looking at it from a stance of like, artists creating worlds and being able to be in a world that's not the real world. And so, yeah, that show really transformed. But that was our first time working together. And it was a great experience. I love collaboration. It's like a huge part of my work. And it's so hard to fit into this sort of like elevator pitch, that is my like artist statement, because working with other people kind of just explodes that. But yeah, it's always really fun doing collaborations. And definitely you'll need to go check out her work, maybe after this talk or right now. It's amazing. She's an amazing video artist. So
awesome. I was definitely curious because I knew that exhibit was happening and just kind of where it was landing at the current moment. But actually taking a step back a little bit in regards to your art and your practice, how did you become interested in glass as a medium, and especially neon as a neon artist?
Yeah, well, I've always been drawn to glass since I was a kid. I remember like, oh my God, this is going to be such a convoluted story, but my parents took me to Las Vegas when I was little, and I saw like a Dale Chihuly up in the like ceiling of the Bellagio Hotel. And I just became, although I learned later that that's actually plastic, but
really?
I think so. But anyway, I became really obsessed with it, and I would collect those like little glass trinkets that you find at gas stations and like at mall kiosks and stuff. And I had this like huge cabinet full of these glass things. I was so weird about it, but so I always like loved glass. And when I got old enough, like high school age, I realized I wanted to blow glass. I don't know how, but I just was always obsessed with it. And so I went to Alfred to be a glass blower. And then while I was there, they're one of the few schools in the nation with a neon studio. And I just like walked by the neon shop one day, and it was just love at first sight. So I picked that up, and I kind of never put it down. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I'd also love to hear from you, maybe how you're connected with GAS and what your relationship to the Glass Art Society is.
Yeah, so attending Alfred, which has like a really intense glass program, we always went to the conferences, the GAS conferences, and it was always like such a community event, which I'm sure everyone misses. But so yeah, I always knew about GAS.
I know, I change it up all the time. It just is like in the brain.
And then one of my professors, Sarah Blood, who's a neon professor, nominated me for the Sachs Award when I was graduating from my master's program. Hi, Krishan. And so I received the Sachs Emerging Artist Award, and I was super happy about it. And I was among a really great cohort of other artists. So yeah.
Yeah, and kind of just bouncing off that. So as Lily just said, she had won the competitive Sachs Emerging Artist Award in 2019. And that was for the St. Petersburg GAS Conference. And actually, I did not attend, but let's say time is all sorts of strange in COVID. So maybe a year ago or several months, it could be either or. I was actually reading the GAS Art Journal that came out, and I was reading the article that you wrote, and I was just blown away. I thought it was so beautiful. And then I'll even show you. I like made little hearts next to certain statements that I was like, this person is amazing. I want to talk to them, figure out what they're doing. So I'm so excited that you're here and we can talk about your work.
That's so funny because I need to get a copy of that. I haven't seen that article in print.
Oh my gosh, yes. We'll definitely make that happen.
For a while, I was like, maybe they forgot to run it.
Oh, it's definitely there with beautiful colored pictures. We'll get it taken care of.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, and so relaying back to that a little bit and more about your art practice, I am really drawn to some of the words that you use when you describe your like artistic statement. And so just to quote you, your sculptural work encourages emotional and physical well-being through a holistic lens of personal, societal, and environmental healing. So I'd love to maybe have you kind of simmer on that. Also with the idea of, given all the changes and challenges that we've gone through this past year, how do you feel about this statement and your artistic statement now?
You know, I still strongly stand by that statement. I think sort of all of my best work deals with that aspect of, I guess, life. Yeah, so, and you know, I chose those three words, personal, societal, and environmental healing, because I feel like they sort of encapsulate everything that we are as people. And these like big, vague statements are sometimes kind of dangerous, but when I think about, you know, the work that I make and how long it seems I've been making it and the life sort of ahead of me that I still have to make this work, that's always a statement that I can return to. I think it's a really good description. And you know, I chose that because I'm a very, and we'll get, I think you, let me gather my words. I'm a very spiritual person, you know, but growing up in a country that's predominantly Christian, I never associated, even though I was raised Episcopalian, I never really associated with organized religion. I always was put off kind of by it. And so I found a, maybe not a resolve, but a comfort in making work that fed that side of me. And, you know, when I was getting my master's, I realized that I was approaching this work in a way that other people needed also, based on the reactions I would get from people, you know, participating in my performances or even just looking at the work, you know, watching a video or whatever. A lot of my work involves participatory performance where people will actually become, you know, part of the work themselves. And so, yeah, so I realized it wasn't just me that needed this, you know, it was everyone. And that sort of led me to believe that we all are seeking something, right? Which means that there's sort of like a void in our life right now as it is, and in our society as it is. And so that's when I became really interested in healing, you know, which implies this sort of progressive or active, I guess, active, not fixing, but like moving forward, you know, and building bridges, and sort of making things better than they are. And it's like a huge complex thing to dissect, but you know, we do that and we start that inside of ourselves, you know, sort of first, and also continually, because of all of the things that we face in life. You know, we're always having to overcome things. We also need to do that as a society, you know, together, and we can't even do that until we have, you know, looked inward and sort of address that within our personal lives. And then, you know, from there, this idea of environmental healing, and how we treat our outside world, our country is a capitalist country. I'm sure I'm preaching to a lot of the choir here, you know, when I say that our relationship with land has been pretty much non-existent, you know, for a majority of our country for the last 100 years or 150 years. And so I'm trying to always reconnect, you know, through my work, I'm trying to always reconnect those lost connections. So to our own bodies, even, you know, to other people, and, you know, to the land. So, and I think now with COVID and the past, you know, year has been crazy, just, I mean, insane, you know, what with the political atmosphere and realizing that half of our country believes, you know, a lot of dangerous beliefs, a lot of divisive beliefs, and also, you know, believes that nature is a means for profit. I feel like this work is more relevant. You know, it becomes more relevant to me like every second that passes. Like, and it never started off as something that was political, you know, but I think with what I try and do, you know, with my art is like focus on the core of all of these issues, which are all interconnected, you know, and really try and get into people's hearts with the things that I make in some kind of way, you know, to make them think or feel or literally do something, you know, to come to sort of some kind of conclusion or transformation or whatever. So that made sense.
Yeah, there's just like so much to dissect and talk about there. One piece that you touch on verbally just now, but also on your website and through your work that I would love to explore with you, is how you say you use light, space, these immersive installations, and then these audience participatory performances as tools to address chasms within contemporary culture. And then you go on to say you work to spark wonder and openness in a world that is increasingly disenchanted. And then one last piece that I'd love some of your thoughts on are you talk about your work in relation to magical realism. And I think there's so much beauty in that kind of mystery and also connection to your thoughts and feelings, because I think sometimes people might just stay in the lane of let's think and maybe not let's not feel. So I'd be super curious to hear how some of that kind of resonates with you now.
Yeah, so I sort of have this hunch that my kind of aesthetic language and my interests come from growing up in the American South. And I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and the South is often written off as, you know, this racist sort of place. And people kind of, you know, that is true to a certain extent, you know, especially historically. Also, you know, the whole country is like that, as we've seen this year. And oftentimes people forget sort of this oldness that's there, and this just cultural weirdness that a lot of people have. And so I grew up, you know, apprenticing folk artists and these outsider artists who had no formal training, and so I really kind of like indulged in that weirdness, and you know that ranges from like superstition, like these really strong superstitions. Like I remember my mom used to like whenever she would find a snake in her garden, she would hang it up like on a fence, like belly side up, because like she believed that it would like bring rain. It's like this, you know, this omen to bring the rain or whatever. So it's just all sorts of weird little things, you know, that people believe, and I think that's kind of what drew me into these sort of like mysterious, you know, attributes of seeing magic in the world, and pointing out when there's magic in the world. You know, I mean, people look at sunsets every day, and you know, sometimes they forget that there's like rainbows in the sky. You know, and that's so it's really a sort of like a way to look at the world, I guess. Like seeing the magic, you know, in a beautiful sunset, and or even a rainbow or whatever, you know, like we often like forget because we're so removed, you know, we're always inside staring at our screens and I don't know, eating at McDonald's or whatever. I don't eat at McDonald's. It's Starbucks, you know, we're so used to this like plasticky reproduction and seeing copies of everything everywhere that we sort of have become detached from this realness that, you know, is life and is the sort of like wonder and the mystery of life. Like no matter how much science, you know, digs and digs, we still don't know how our brains work, you know. I mean, there's still so much that's unknown. And so yeah, so that's really kind of like the basis sort of my work is to sort of bring out that awe in people, that like childhood curiosity, you know, that and I do that by, you know, using real element, you know, using light and space, and real things, you know, that I make and put people in this world. Light has like a really wonderful way of altering our experience in the world. I always say it's like color theory on crack. So it's like you're in front of the, you know, because I use neon in a pretty untraditional way. I don't make signs usually. I mean, I do for money, but but I use them, you know, because of their qualities. And like I remember one time, this is kind of a tangent, but I remember one time I had a model in one of my performances, and she had a red neon cube on her face, and she started overheating, and she couldn't stay in this performance piece because she was like, I'm too hot, like I feel like I have a fever, like I feel nauseous, and you know, I would take the helmet off of her, and I would feel her head, and she was fine, you know, she was totally fine. And so light has a real way, you know, kind of like sound, of sort of like, what's the word, forcibly entering our senses. It's very abrasive. And yeah, so that's why I love using light and sort of space to sort of get my message across. And then the performances that I do, those are kind of on the same path of this sort of like abrasive artwork, you know. When you, so I research a lot in, you know, comparative religion, and that includes you know, ritual practices. And what's interesting, oh my god, there's a fly on me in my studio. What's interesting, you know, to me about these rituals is they're always meant to be transformative, right? So there's always like a set of actions that you do, or you know, like for a birthday example, it's a ritual. Someone bakes you a cake, celebration, you blow out the number of candles you are, and you are a year older, right? Or for a funeral, or maybe a funeral is a bad example, but you know, for a marriage, like a wedding is a ceremony, right? Oftentimes there are symbolic actions that take place. You know, you say vows, your father gives you away, whatever. There's all of these heavily symbolic actions that have real life implications towards you know, how you feel after you experience them. So like obviously, even though the wedding ceremony isn't officially you being married, you know, you have to actually get a marriage license, it's very legal, whatever. The wedding ceremony, you know, you feel, well, I haven't been married, but you feel different before and after, right? Afterwards you're a bride, or for me you're a bride, or you're whatever, or a groom, or, and before, you know, you're not. But so going through symbolic actions and actually doing and you know, undergoing these symbolic actions can have an effect on you. And so So that's what I do with my performances. I bring people in and I sort of choreograph an experience, and then people do this experience and come out with a different understanding, right? So
next time, fingers crossed, whenever it's safe to travel again, I would love to participate in one of these experiences. It sounds like, and even someone in the chat said that it was visually stunning, conceptually powerful, and I think that's all amazing. So one of the things you touched on was how you research some other modalities, and you brought up color theory. And I've also read that you studied or learned homeopathy and environmental trauma. And how do you think that informs both your practice and then how you maybe take care of yourself and what self-care looks like for you as an artist?
Yeah. I mean, I research a lot and I read a lot about these things that I'm interested in, but that's totally different from experiencing it. So I definitely, like, I've, always been interested in Reiki, and I recently started doing breathing workshops, and just to have an understanding of how things have an effect on you. And, no one's born like a holy person, or, no one's born a pope. You have to like learn these things throughout your life. And so, yeah, so when I, learn something new or interesting or, profound, I guess, I relate, it allows me to use it better in my work, or to at least be influenced on it through my work. And it's a super fine line, because I'm always really trying to be cognizant of like not appropriating, because I'm talking about cultural beliefs and ways of people, ways that people live, and so I try and be really careful not to appropriate something to use, without a full understanding of it, because you don't want to relay the wrong information, or because that takes sort of this like power away from what the thing is. So except for Christianity, I appropriated a lot of Christian sort of motifs and symbols, but I feel like that's okay since I was raised Episcopal. But yeah.
So then maybe for people who are listening, what are some maybe self-care practices that you use, and how maybe do you define a sustainable practice in regard to well-being?
Oh, such a good question. Hard to answer. Something that's been really helping me recently, during COVID and all of this sort of like separation, like social separation, like finding community, and sort of like reconnecting to a community. And at first that was like family Zoom parties and friends Zoom party, whatever, sharing online, whatever. And recently, it's been working. I've recently been working with a group of people here in Arizona to save this Apache sacred site. If you guys don't follow Apache Stronghold on Instagram, you should. But there's this basically. Sorry, I always give such long questions, but
all good.
Yeah, so Apache Stronghold is a group of San Carlos Apache Nation peoples who are fighting to stop a copper mine from destroying their ancestral homelands, which are also sacred to them and their religion, and Also, this mine would sit on top of one of the cleanest aquifers in Arizona, and the San Carlos tribe rents rights to this water to Phoenix and Scottsdale and Gilbert, which are 3 communities that are directly west of them.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of, you know, it's all kind of a suburbs of Phoenix. So, and Phoenix is, you know, one of the larger cities in Arizona. Has really brought me a lot of inspiration that I haven't felt in like a year, you know, and connecting with something, you know, with other people over something that's important to me, you know, and having that community support has been really amazing, and sort of seeing the power of working with other people, you know, versus working alone has sort of been a reminder, or maybe not a reminder, but definitely a refresher for me, you know, after spending so much time in practical isolation. I mean, other than my close circle of friends and family. And so, yeah, so that's been something that has helped me stay sane recently, you know, and yeah.
Yeah, I think community is especially important, if not always. I think me personally, humans are naturally social and we crave human interactions. And so this year has been really challenging there are so many challenges, but I think that community building is especially something that has really shifted. And while I'm grateful and thankful that we do have virtual landscapes, there is definitely a difference. And even experiencing art as a participatory experience in person is very different than it is virtually.
Yeah. And yeah, totally. And, you know, I mean, obviously you have to be safe and do it the best way that you can. But yeah.
So as we kind of start to wind down, something that has emerged throughout the series is kind of hearing from whoever is with us, maybe a couple examples of people that they find inspiring or have worked with in the past. And I know in terms of artists who work with glass and healing, you've actually mentioned Karen Donnellan, who was our very first guest on Glass Reflections. So I'm curious to hear, are there any other artists who either work with glass and healing or maybe just glass artists in general that you're inspired by?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm inspired by so many people. But a lot of a lot of people that come to mind don't particularly use glass. But like, you know, I'm thinking of La Pocha Nostra, which is a really amazing performance group. I think I get my inspiration from everywhere. I mean, Joseph Boys obviously is a classic. Anna Mendieta is a classic. I mean, yeah. And I'm also, you know, inspired by people using mediums that I'm not familiar with. Like Alejandra Narito is an artist. He's a filmmaker, and he also makes virtual reality landscapes. I think maybe his work, I think everyone should. It's hard to experience his work because you really have to be in a museum, you know, with VR thing. It's not like you can just order it at home, but he definitely made one of the most touching pieces I've seen maybe in my life. It's called Carne y Arena, and it's about like border crossings from Mexico into the U.S.
Look into it.
Yeah, but yes. Oh, you've seen it. Hell yeah. Some people have seen it, but it's great. It's great. But yeah, and you know, I think too, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from the people I've been working with recently this past month, too, who are not all artists. You know, some of them are activists, some of them are you know, writers or poets or whatever. So, so yeah, kind of from everywhere.
I think that's really inspiring, to use the same word. And I've noticed that I think a real strength to the glass community is this kind of interdisciplinary or kind of mixed media usage of either tools or techniques or other people and kind of collaborating. So really here. As our kind of last question, little activity that I would love for us to explore, are there any practices that you use to take care of yourself, or any that you would be able to maybe model for us?
Yeah, so, you know, well, I'm working on a breathing. I didn't want to read you a breathing exercise because Karen Donelon did that.
All different.
But recently I've been thinking a lot about ways to pray because I am sort of an atheist. So I think that it's important to sort of vocalize, you know, hopes and, you know, words of protection and intentions, and all of these things. And even though it's not quite interactive, I did want to say a prayer for this cause that I've been working with, which is to save Oak Flat. And it's a poem that that was written for these candles. So recently we organized a prayer vigil, a walking vigil, in respect to, because this place is an Apache holy site, and the Apache people often use walking and running as a form of prayer, which which blew my mind. You know, I've heard of walking used as a meditation, but yeah, so anyway, so I wanted to share a prayer with you guys about Oak Flat, and then I guess if you guys have questions, we can do that. But so I'm reading, shoot, and I wish that I had his name. I didn't write his name down, who wrote this, but I'm reading his poem. So we pray for the sacred land of Oak Flat, for the ancestor hawks who watch over us, for the holy trees that keep their arms open for us, for the soothing leaves that provide medicine for us, for the glistening waters that preserve fresh life for us, for the canyons that maintain centuries of healing prayers for us, for Resolution Copper to stop its attack and show love and compassion. We pray for the sacred land of Oak Flat. And so yeah, so I do, you know, maybe if you all feel inclined to light a candle and sort of keep this cause in your mind. It's basically kind of like a re-show of what's been happening up with Standing Rock. And I recently read a fact that something like 40% of all of our mining on public lands happens. 40% of all of our mineral extraction happens on public lands, and you know, around 25 to 30% of that is on native and indigenous endowed lands that supposedly, you know, belong to native peoples but are actually endowed in a trust. So the United States government has the right to sort of take that land at any time. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And for others who maybe when this recording is available at a later date, someone typed into that chat to check out Lily's work on She Bends Instagram, where all the proceeds from her fine art prints help to protect Oak Flat.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Another resource for people in the audience. So thank you, Lily, for sharing that prayer with us and for sharing all of that information about your process and what inspires you. As I just kind of said, this program will be uploaded on the GAS platform soon and will include Lily's information if you want to reach out. And then I know we've gone over a little bit, but Lily, if you'd be interested in maybe just staying on an extra minute, would you like to answer any questions from those in the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So you can just type into the little comments bar at the bottom if you have any questions for Lily.
I guess maybe in the meantime, until people come up with some questions, I did want to say that just like stuff that I'm working towards, I guess, I have an exhibition coming up at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art this summer.
Yeah.
It's a group show, but there'll be a video in there, a video installation there. And then another show that's been postponed that says Abram Ingalls Institute of Fine Art in Birmingham through through UAB, which is the school there. So just keep your eyes peeled.
That's awesome. SMOCA is one of my favorite museums. I had my very first museum internship there, so it like holds a special place in my heart.
Nice. It's a great museum, yeah. And then also sort of doing this ongoing project with Apache Stronghold and trying to highlight the sort of issues that are happening out there and what's going on and trying to find ways to help, you know, however I can. So
Lovely.
I don't know if anyone has questions.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Just absorb it, take what you like, let it simmer. And then, yeah, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to myself, Jenna at glassart.org about this program in general. Or if you have questions for Lily, you can contact her on her website. Oh, we have a question. All right, let's go for it.
Josephine. Okay, have you ever done any Mexico-U.S. border work? Are you interested? I have not. I am interested. I'm totally interested in doing some work on the border. And although, you know, nothing has come to me. So the one thing that has come to me actually is I started this project about a year ago called Advertising at the End of the World, and it started off as a residency at the Wiregrass Museum of Art, and it was illustrating portraits of endangered and extinct plants and animals because we're going through this sort of like mass extinction, and so there are some. I have wanted to do the Arizona Ocelot, which Arizona is sort of as far north as it goes, and I create these portraits of these animals in a sort of traditional signage sort of format, and I take them out into the landscape and I photograph them where they've been displaced. So I do want to photograph the Ocelot at the border wall, because, you know, the borders are all human-made concepts. They're not real. As much as people want you to believe that they're real, they're not. And so yeah, so that's kind of one piece that I wanted to do with the border, but nothing that you know, that I don't have anything right now planned or in mind. Although it's such an important, you know, such an important topic. I do have a friend though, Stephanie Gonzalez, who I think you know, Josephine, is doing amazing work about the border right now. So, and she'll be in that SMOCA show next summer too.
Oh, amazing. Great. And then we'll just answer this one last question. So do you have any good Mojo superstitions or which rituals you practice in the Neon studio?
Rosemary! Yeah, every day before I spend neon, I inject a little drop of mercury. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. Studio rituals. I mean, I decorate really weirdly. Maybe that's my weird studio ritual. I'm really attracted to interesting I don't know, like weird objects. So I always have like weird stuff around the studio, you know, so maybe that's what it is. But no rituals that I start before and after work. Although maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should think some up.
Love it. Well, if you end up having any, you'll have to let us know how it turns out and experimenting what that experimentation looks like. Awesome. So we do actually have to wrap up. Thank you for this last question. Maybe we'll address it offline after this. But thank you all so much in the audience for joining us. It was really great to have you all here, near and far. And thank you, Lily, for being our February 2021 guest. As I said, the recording, all tech aside, should be available on GAS website and our YouTube channel within the next couple days. So bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.